Mansfield today on a Thursday, and that's when we kick back our heels and go travelling. But when I say kick back our heels, in this particular case, I really mean it, because we are kicking back our heels, and it's a very different form of travel, because it's something you should actually be travelling with. It's called a pair of Veldskoens. Now, Nick is one of the founders of Veldskoen, which is... Nick, give us the background to this development, because it's a fascinating one, starting at the 2016 Olympics.
And again, Jeremy, thanks for having me. And yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if somebody says to you, Nick Dreyer, the founder of Veldskoen, it sounds ridiculous because I'm only 44 odd years old, not 300 years old. But the reality is that Veldskoen's been around in South Africa for 400-500 years, and it's been loved and cherished by South Africans and Africans, in fact. You know, the Zimbabweans stake their claim to it, and so do the Namibians. But the reality is it's an African thing, a Veldskoen, a descriptor. And about 6 years ago, having watched the South African team come out at the Olympics looking, let's just say not looking like South Africans, an argument broke out between me and my mate, Ross, who I'd grown up with, and a healthy argument and a debate about what they should have been wearing to make them look more South African. And there's not a lot of options out there. You know, there's the Madiba shirt, and what do you see visually on a television that makes you look South African? And we stumbled on the idea that they could have been wearing a pair of Veldskoen. The only problem was that Veldskoen were deeply boring at the time. And so we photoshopped colorful laces and soles onto them, and in a flash realized, quite serendipitously and with an enormous amount of luck, that nobody had actually taken ownership of Veldskoen and made it fun. And so we set out to do that, and that was 6 years ago now. So we're very grateful and blessed, and we're still around and growing, which is nice.
Nick, the only person that I know in the history of Veldskoen, and I can't go back all the way to the 1600s and talk to him, Jan van Schalkwijk, about what he did for Veldskoen. But the only person I know who did anything for Veldskoens in the 80s was David Kramer.
Yeah, look, he did a lot for it, man. It was like a catchphrase. You know, I think that famous VW ad where he went, "Oh, Veldskoen," I think that caught the imagination of specifically South Africans. So the term Veldskoen became kind of ubiquitous with South African since the 70s and 80s. And then, it's had a lot of iterations globally. So in Zim, they call it a hunter boot. And then just after the Second World War, it migrated its way to Europe, to England with Mr. Clark, and he called it a desert boot. So there's, it's an interesting story. It's managed to find its way into the world.
But it still remains in our hearts. Now, you are, when you say it's gone all over the world, you guys are also represented all over the world.
Yeah, we've grown rapidly, which is amazing. We had a couple of really big highlights in our business. One, we made a bit of news when then Prince Harry wore our shoes, and then we've got some high-profile investors in the States, in Ashton Kutcher and Mark Cuban, and then we made a lot of noise and we became quite famous quite quickly. And then we had this really big brand moment in this last Olympic Games where the South African team actually wore our shoes out in the stadium when they walked out. And what that facilitated was some rapid growth globally. And so we're now in 32 countries in the world. Can you believe it? We don't ship to 32 countries. We're actually in 32 countries, which means we've got a platform in all of those places. And you won't believe how good folks in Taiwan look wearing Veldskoen, which is exactly what we wanted, to spread some positive South African energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, from a production point of view, how are you handling that?
We make everything in Durban. We are so proud of the fact that our entire supply chain and value chain is South African. And I think, the world is moving towards reliance on other parts of the world. And the truth is we can make amazing products in Africa, in South Africa specifically. So we make our shoes in Durban with a wonderful factory called Hopewell Shoes. They're third generation footwear manufacturers. And then we've also got our brand Plucky, which is the flip-flop brand, which we also make in Durban. So we're very, very proud of the fact that we've got a full South African supply chain. And everybody asks me, Nick, what are you going to do when it really grows and scales? The truth of the matter is we can grow and scale in South Africa.
Nick, let's move on to Pluckies now, because that's a newer entrant for the Veldskoen brand.
We call it the 6-year overnight success. We actually did it on the same day that we did Veldskoen, when we trademarked everything and got the business started. The only problem with it is it's very, very difficult to make a really good pair of Pluckies. And because when we set out to do it, we were always going to be better than our South American friends. We wanted to set out to make sure that it's high quality and also fun and all the rest of it, but it had to be a little bit more durable. And then we had to make it at a price point where we could offer it to South Africans that was a little bit more competitive than the imports without being super cheap. So to get it right took a while being 5-6 years. And only last year did we really, really nail it. And then we started going quite aggressively towards South Africa and saying, guys, again, this is made in Durban. It's supporting a South African business and a South African supply chain. Have a look at us. And so many people did, including some wonderful collaborations. We collaborated with the NSRI, for example, to put up life-saving buoys. And that's gone crazy with Plucky. We've also got some really cool retailers and outdoor warehouse. Carp Agri, we've partnered with PNA, where proceeds from our Pluckies go to the incredible organization CHOC, which is the organization that supports children with cancer. So we've made sure that if people decide to make a buying decision and to change from what they've been wearing for many years, that it goes to help and support South Africa. And that has worked really nicely for us and makes us feel good. So we're going to carry on.
Brilliant. And I believe that you've just launched a new venture.
Yeah, you know what's happening is everybody in the world that's learning about Veldskoen goes, oh my word, we really want to visit South Africa. And that's kind of always been the plan, right? Is to shine a light on South Africa, to make sure that people celebrate. I mean, our shoes are called the J-Bay and the Bloem and the Veldskoen. These are places, these are things that people should celebrate, and the Pinotage. So people constantly say to us, we want to come to South Africa or Southern Africa or Africa, and we tell them, okay, yeah, cool, you need to come visit. But what we've decided to do is, because we've got a bit of attention on us globally, we'd actually encourage people to come, and we've launched a travel business called Veldskoen Travel. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in the travel business, but it's difficult. So you need the best of breed, and I was never going to rebuild it. So we partnered with what I think is the best safari company in the whole of Africa. And they're called Rhino Africa, and they're based in Cape Town, and they do good. Their values align with ours. So they've helped us, and they've built a platform called Veldskoen Travel in partnership with Rhino Africa. And 32 countries globally over the next few months will be learning how to travel to Africa and how to travel to South Africa, and we'll be able to let them do that straight off our site, which is incredibly exciting.
That absolutely is. And keep shining the light on South Africa and on Africa, because my goodness, do we need it at this stage. Nick, thank you very much for taking time out to join us. And don't forget to go and get your Veldskoens, your Pluckies, and wear them with pride as a proud South African.